Prophets who trying to call down fire from heaven. See, I see some of y'all. Ooh, as soon as you get it, ooh, I'm a prophet. Touch not God's anointed. Shut your mouth. The whole generation. All of us are to be prophetic, which means as we move about, we have a common mission to edify somebody. Ask your neighbor, who are you building up? I want to ask you again, because you ain't answered that with enough conviction. Ask them again, who are you building up? And I want you to take a moment and I want you to think about it, because a prophetic people in a New Testament church ought to be building somebody. The devil's been trying to have us tear everybody down we meet. Can I tell you that's an antichrist spirit? I hear you. All these discernment ministers, all these expose them. If you're going to expose them, can you? God showed you how bad they were, right? God showed you how far they were in sin. Did he show you anything you could do to build? See, I want to ask you again, who are you building up in this season? I want to give you a new assignment. God has not assigned you to destroy anybody. God's assigned you to be a blessing. To just move as the Spirit is giving utterance on what the Lord wants to happen. I was reminded when I was preparing this morning for the word, tracking through 1 Corinthians, I was looking at Paul's ministry to a very gifted church. It seems everyone's gifted at Corinth. And Paul has an important task to ground them as a gifted church. And he gives them some parameters. He encourages them, coming out of 12 and the 13 and the 14, he encourages them to pursue prophecy, to desire it, to crave it, but above all, to crave love. He wants them to understand that the gift of prophecy makes for opportunities to edify, exhort, and comfort. And that's the parameter of the prophetic ministry in the New Testament. A lot of people like to prophesy in the New Testament church and carry on like Old Testament prophets. They try to curse folks and call down fire from heaven and sick 'em Jesus. And God is not in the business of sicking anything on your enemies. A lot of folks try and be Old Testament prophets, and they want to call you out by your sin. Come here, old fornicator, old adulterer. This is not of God. The psalmist noted, if you, O Lord, counted sin, who could stand? Just think about the logic of it for a moment. If God really kept record of every one of your sins and enumerated them, showed it to a prophet and said, tell him about it, which one of us could bear up under the shame and the condemnation? So it's not the nature of God. And the psalmist goes on to say, fortunately, I like the way the Message Bible say it, you are a God who forgives. And that is why you are worshiped. Ooh. Can anybody attest to that? You ain't always been straight up 6 o'clock. You made some mistakes. Okay, I could tell some of you ain't matured yet. Yeah, you ain't perfect. You done hurt some people's feelings. You done messed up. You done misstepped. You done misspoke. But hadn't he been gracious? Didn't he forgive you? It is the nature of God to forgive. It is the nature of God to have mercy. It is the nature of God to give you room to grow up and to mature. Somebody say thank you. So we don't use the prophetic in this church to wound people. We don't use the prophetic in this church to expose people. We don't use the prophetic in this church to reveal people's flaws and make them feel worse about their predicament. If the Lord should so happen to show us your error, to show us your sin or your shortcoming, certainly the same God who shows it knows how to condition every word with love. Certainly the same God who revealed that also revealed a solution. Yeah, if you go call them out by their sin, can you at least see the root of it? Isn't it so easy to call people out by their sin, but you miss the trauma? You called her out on being promiscuous, but you miss every one of them that played over her. Make it make sense, saints. So the prophetic comes to minister hope to people who are hopeless. And Paul understands that when the prophetic starts operating in the Christian church, it has to lift people up. You don't use the prophetic to beat people. The prophetic has to be used to edify. Somebody shout edify. Edify means build up. The prophetic needs to be used to exhort. Everybody say exhort. That means to encourage. Please tell me, prophet, you don't just see all my bad. Please tell me you don't just see all my mistakes. If God showed you all of my mistakes, can he show you when I get it right? Come on, prophet, come on. I know some of y'all gifted, and I want to challenge you because you're gloom and doom all the time. But you mean to tell me God showed you pending wrath, but he didn't show you the rebuilding? He didn't show you what was coming after the wrath? I need you to finish the vision, prophet. Your vision should not leave people hopeless. Your vision should give hope. Is God rebuking sin? Yes, he's rebuking sin. Is God saying that he's bringing justice? Yes, he's bringing justice. But you'll go back and comb through all of those prophetic texts and look at it again. And I think it's Jeremiah 29:11 we love so much when he says, I've not forgotten what I think towards you. I'm going to give you a future. But I told the church not long ago, that was on the back end of God telling him you're going to be in 70 years of captivity. Things are not going to change quick for you. Don't let any of your lying prophets tell you you'll get out of there in a hurry. You're going to be there at least 70 years. Ooh, but look at this. God didn't leave them hopeless. While you're there, I see you prospering in the midst of captivity. So go on and build some houses. If you go be a prophet to me, be a prophet to me. If you go tell me how bad it is, tell me how to walk it out with God. You're going to be here a while. Things don't look like it's going to change anytime quick. But while you're here, build your houses. Go ahead, get married. Please have children. Keep your families together through hard times. Plant some gardens, why don't you? And then pray for the peace of the United States. Pray for the peace of Augusta, Georgia. Pray for the peace of North Augusta, Aiken, or wherever you at. For in that area having peace, you're going to have peace. Prophesy to me, prophet. Prophesy to me, prophet. Don't just tell me about the bad. Tell me where God's going to be in it. Tell me how I'm going to have peace in it. Prophecy can't leave people hopeless. Prophecy cannot keep revealing all the gloom and the doom without a future and a hope. Finish the narrative. So I was in the spirit. I said, well, Lord, what do you want me to do? And the Holy Spirit said, the first thing I want you to do is help your church understand. When I said the whole generation will be prophetic, I'm giving them all a common grace to see something worth encouraging in somebody. You know, that's Acts chapter 2. He says, in the last days, I pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Peter said, it's here, y'all. All y'all supposed to be prophets. Ooh, nudge your neighbor, say, he talking to you. Now, I ain't talking about them Old Testament prophets who trying to call down fire from heaven. See, I see some of y'all. Ooh, as soon as you get it, ooh, I'm a prophet. Touch not God's anointed. Shut your mouth. The whole generation. All of us are to be prophetic, which means as we move about, we have a common mission to edify somebody. Ask your neighbor, who are you building up? I want to ask you again, because you ain't answered that with enough conviction. Ask them again, who are you building up? And I want you to take a moment and I want you to think about it, because a prophetic people in a New Testament church ought to be building somebody. The devil's been trying to have us tear everybody down we meet. Can I tell you that's an antichrist spirit? I hear you. All these discernment ministers, all these expose them. If you're going to expose them, can you? God showed you how bad they were, right? God showed you how far they were in sin. Did he show you anything you could do to build? See, I want to ask you again, who are you building up in this season? I want to give you a new assignment. God has not assigned you to destroy anybody. God's assigned you to be a blessing. So Paul says in the New Testament church, this gift edifies and exhorts and it comforts. Acts says the whole New Testament body of believers is beginning to be prophetic. So that means you're all supposed to be on an assignment. Before I hurt you, I won't do anything but pray that God will bless you. Before I curse you, I'll pray that God bless you, even if I can't be the one to bless you, because you done got on my nerves so bad. Before I curse you, I'll say, God, send somebody else and love them like you love them, because I cannot love them. But I'm not going to curse you. I'm not going to speak evil. Before I try to uncover your sin and your shortcomings, I'll try to empathize with what must have got a person to that place. I'll choose to remember a time when you were more faithful, you were more committed. I know them. I know their heart. I know how much they've loved God. I know how much they were going hard. So if they've fallen this far, God, I pray for them. I pray their strength in the Lord. I pray they're encouraged. I'm going to ask you again, who are you building up? And then the second part of the New Testament prophetic gift is it is to exhort. It is to exhort. It is to encourage. It is to encourage. Saints, do we know how to encourage? Am I making sense to you? You know, some of us make it seem like it's a chore to speak life to people. The way we carry on, it's so easy for us to highlight people's negative. But if I have to stop for a moment and acknowledge your good, it's like it just kills some people's soul. To have to say, you know what? I see you and I'm proud of you. You're doing a great job there. Congratulations. You deserve your good. I want to ask you, when is the last time such words have fallen off your tongue to anybody? Can you be an encourager? Or do we choose to hold our encouragement? And why? Anybody notice that little something? The other year, I think I told you guys, I put up a little Chinese New Year something. It said, during the Chinese New Year, they say to each other, I hope you get rich. Period. That's it. So I shared with my Facebook audience exactly what the Chinese New Year thing said and said, I hope you get rich. It was the commentary back from some people that told me what our true problem is. I said, I hope you get rich. That's it. Folks said, I hope you get rich after me. I hope you get rich while I get rich. You see it? We have a challenge sometimes encouraging people, speaking the good to people, because somehow it seems like I'm giving them something that I don't have. Wait a minute. But doesn't the scripture encourage us to be the kind of people who can encourage others, who can prefer others, who can look at somebody else and notice that they have something we don't have, notice that they've been doing their work a little bit more, they deserve that good. Low key, you inspire me. Nobody inspires you. You see nobody who's been doing it better than you, longer than you, consistent enough that they deserve their good. Is there no one around you that you can see and say, I'm encouraged by them, let me encourage them? Hello, Zion. See, the devil have you so wrapped up in seeing the negative that you can't encourage anybody for seeing their negative. But I rebuke that devil in the name of Jesus. You are not called to speak to people's negative. As a matter of fact, the next time that devil pull up that Rolodex and all you can see is how they clothes are mismatched, how their hair is nappy. All you can see is how they didn't get a real hug. All you can note is all the negative things. I want to challenge you. Find something in there worth encouraging. As a matter of fact, you're going to like this. It's going to bless you. When the devil's at you like that with all that negativity, that's your assignment to find some positive. Everybody the devil ever tried to make me hate on like that, it ain't a lot, but it's a few. Everybody the devil ever tried to make me hate on like that, it was something I was supposed to get from them. It was something I was supposed to learn from them. And you can't encourage anybody you competing with. You can't encourage anybody you sitting back in jealousy, hoping that they fail, hoping that they mess up because you want what they got. And you gotta be honest with yourself when jealousy jump off on you. Do you recognize it when it jump off on you? I remember the first time it jumped off on me, I ain't recognize it. I thought I was making a righteous judgment. I thought I was being a prophet. I thought I was seeing something. You were seeing something, all right? I was seeing jealousy. Something was wrapped up in my heart. And I spoke to the pastor not long ago. This was circa 2006, 2007. I'm getting ready to start my first church over in Alabama. And I happened to go and visit a church there. Their church was Daystar. And the pastor is Pastor Scott Scatchline. And Pastor Scott at the time his father was transferring the church over to him the Sunday that I came. And I didn't know what was going on in me, but I sat and I watched that transfer. And the church is a beautiful church, amazing church there. And I was just starting my church. My parents were pastors too, but they weren't transferring nothing over to me. I was starting with friends from college or so. And I sat back there in that service and jealousy tried to come all over me. And I didn't recognize what it was, so I just battled and fought through and tried to see it as spiritual warfare and prayed through it. And it took some time for me to realize I was battling with jealousy. And when I saw it for what it was, God had me to revisit that moment. And instead of sitting back with an eye of jealousy, bless that man. Bless his ministry. Pray for the good and the success. Now, this was several years later when it come to me, and I reached out to him and said, hey, man, I want to tell you something. And we talked. And strangely enough, at that time, Pastor Scott was going through a tremendous sickness. He was battling with some things, and he opened up to me about the battles he had been encountering since taking that church. And my heart was, because here I am jealous of something, jealous of somebody. You really want it? You really think you deserve what they got? You really think you deserve it because you're doing the same thing they're doing? It was years later when I talked to Pastor Scott. He had encountered so many battles with that process. And at the present, he was dealing with some physical illnesses. And I realized that if I would have stayed in my jealousy, really wanting what somebody else had, you have no idea what their assignment is. I don't know if I'm making sense to you in this house. I'm so glad that when that jealousy was discovered in me and I began to pray, and Pastor Scott and I have communicated about this very subject. I told him one day I'm going to talk about it when I'm preaching. I'm going to write about it because I see the trap of jealousy. I see how the enemy uses it, that even two preachers can't pray for each other because somebody's mad, that somebody's been promoted, that somebody's received something that you feel like you deserve. You can't encourage anybody you're in competition with. You won't pray for them. You won't pray their good. You won't prophesy their success. So unless the Lord can highlight to you areas in your own life where you are silently competing with your brothers and sisters, you won't notice why there's never any encouragement. I can't encourage you if I'm competing with you. I kind of need you to slip so I can have one up. But brothers and sisters, this ought not be so. In a prophetic generation, we see your good. I see your future. I'm not in competition with you. What God has for you is for you. What God has for me, you can't have what. I ain't got to have a church in here, but I don't have to compete with you at all. We don't have the same destiny. We were not born for the same things. We have not been prepared for the same things. You have not been graced for the same thing. You got your own destiny. So in a prophetic generation, I can encourage you towards yours all day long. Never feel slighted. Never feel like God's going to run out. Never feel like, well, I want you to be rich, but not before me. You act like it ain't enough riches. Say, hey, I felt the Holy Ghost on that. Heaven is unlimited. That's another reason. That's going to free some of y'all too. You act like that if you give it to them, it ain't going to be none left for you. Give the encouragement and see what come back to you. Wish they're good and see what come back to you. Go ahead and prophesy the blessings of God upon their business, upon their family. When they are married and they happy, bless a happy marriage and see on a happy marriage come back. There's enough to go around. Somebody shout, there's enough. There's enough happiness to go around. There's enough joy to go around. There's enough finances to go around. There's enough. You can be prosperous. I can be prosperous. You can be joyous. I can be. When a generation gets this in their spirit, there is no end to which they encourage each other. What, you got a new house? Of course I want to be at your housewarming, because I'm going to have one next month. Anybody jealous of you for getting a house? That's what we do. In a prophetic generation, I only see your good. I see you outgrowing yesterday. I don't know your whole story, but I'm sure you done lived through some crap by now. You deserve your good. Good God. I know enough of the human story and human condition to know you didn't just live through good days only. Look at somebody and say, you deserve your good. Oh, I feel something in this church. Oh, my shy. Look at somebody else and say, you deserve your good. I'm making you a prophetic generation right now. Look at somebody else, say, I see you celebrating in your good. Yeah. Some of y'all, you want to get married. Not only do I see you married, I see you celebrating happy marriage. Year 1, year 2, year 3. I don't want nobody else just getting married. Please be happily married. At least act like you like each other. Blow a kiss or something. I prophesy happy marriage for you. You deserve it. Hey. Say, now edify, exhort, and bring comfort. I'm out to slow down here. Because some people say, that's what's wrong with it. Everybody want this comfortable gospel. Listen, it's not that the gospel's comfort. It's that the part you play is to bring comfort. God ain't tell you to be nobody's special catalyst for suffering. God ain't assigned you to be nobody's special, battle axe to just make sure they feel all the uncomfort in the kingdom. I came to make you uncomfortable. Who says when? When did God give an assignment to make people uncomfortable? The assignment is to be a balm. The assignment is to be a healer. The assignment is to be a repairer of the breaches, brothers and sisters. If I can't bring comfort to it, I'll just leave it alone. Yeah. The Holy Spirit is a comforter. I don't mean one of these blankets. Y'all know y'all get in that bed. Y'all like them type of comforters. Y'all think about them soft things. You put, that ain't what I'm talking about. Although that comforter do bring you some comfort. I'm talking about emotionally. You can't think of this type of comfort without thinking psychologically, without thinking emotionally. Yes, your God brings comfort. He alleviates you. That's why he walks you beside the still. That's why he puts you from green pasture to green pasture. Oh, that you lose all the green there? Let's go to another. Come on, your God does facilitate, bring your soul into comfort. And when I say comfort, I don't just mean ease, but then again, I do mean ease. Do you know dis-ease is when your ease is messed up? I'm going to leave it alone. Some of y'all so used to struggling, baby, you dis-ease all the time and just popping pills for it. No, ease is your first state. Ease is your, I feel the Holy Ghost on that. Somebody getting comfort right there. Yeah, I feel the Holy Ghost on that. Look at somebody and say, ease is your first assignment. Dis-ease indicates something is wrong. Your ease, by the time you were diseased. Are y'all in this house with me? As a matter of fact, I'm going to jump out on a limb here. I just prophesy that every disease is a sign that we are not at ease. And I prophesy soul at ease. And there goes that anxiety. Somebody praise it. And there goes that depression. Somebody pray. Your soul's going to be at ease. There it is. And your high blood pressure go regulate because you ain't stressed out. At ease. So, at ease. At ease. We dismiss it. We dismiss everything that's trying to rive us up and aggravate us and frustrate us. In the name of Jesus, we cancel that assignment and we prophesy at ease in this house. I don't know if I'm making sense to you or not. It should edify. It should exhort. It should bring somebody's soul back to peace. Don't tell me you got a word from God and it left you so uneasy. His peace is a byproduct. For God is not the author of confusion. I know him by peace. And even when somebody's caught in sin, and you are, by the time he sends a prophet to you, I mean, come on, Nathan, to David. Even when you're in sin, by the time he sends a prophet to you, he doesn't send the prophet to embarrass you. He sends the prophet to lead you to restoration. You know, he sends the prophet to say that God knows all, God sees all, and he still is calling your name. And if you really back and look, you know, Nathan never did really tell David what he did. David told Nathan what he did. And Nathan said, you the man. You know what God's saying to you. I don't even know if y'all know what I'm trying to say to you. I don't think the prophet really had to see David's sin to see the effect of sin on David's life. And what he was doing was addressing the effect of the sin. David and his God. But the effect of it, God said, go get my servant. Go have a talk with him. And let him know I was there in it. Now, do he want me to be there now to get him out of it? And when David got that word, he knew what to do. Didn't he? Look at Psalm 51. I bet he did. He got that word. David taught us all what to do when you get a true word from God. David said, hey, create in me a clean heart and renew a right spirit. He said, Lord, I see it too. Thank you for showing me. That's the effect of true prophecy at work in the body of Christ. It edifies, it exhorts, it comforts, but it doesn't leave you without making decisions to come closer to him. Every time the prophetic is broken in my life, and I notice how God skipped right over the negative. Spoke right to my destiny. Some of my best prophecies was when I thought the prophet was about to say, come here, sinner. I ain't talking nobody but Jesus and me. I've been through some stuff. I came to church bearing the shame and the condemnation of it. I was lifting my hands in worship and crying because I was repenting. And at that very moment, the man of God said, you, young man, come here. And what God did was he spoke forward to my destiny. While I was grappling with what I was struggling with, God said, I see you out of it already. So when the prophetic comes to you, it is coming because God wants you to know he sees your destiny while you're seeing your current struggle. That's why prophets in the New Testament church edify you. It's not to pacify you. It's to say God sees you beyond this struggle, and so do I. We know you got a lying demon still, but if God can say that he's going to bless you, who am I to say he done blessed some other liars. He delivered them out of their lying tongue while he blessed them. He blessed some other fornicators. They had to get right. These batteries all going ham on me today. That's all right. That's usually what it means, daughter. I'll take it. Right? The devil tries his best to keep people condemned in shame. Keep people condemned. That's why I'm trying to get you out of trying to be an Old Testament prophet. thinking God sent you to call wrath on somebody, because in grace, God will walk with people right in their mess, heal them up. He's still speaking to their destiny. He's still telling them what they're going to be in their future. Today, they just cussed you out. God said, that's all right, cussing Peter. When you get converted, strengthen you. They just denied Jesus 3 times. He said, that's all right. I prayed for you already. The devil desires to sift you as wheat, but I pray for you that your faith does not fail you. God don't give up on people like we do. We got to stop giving up on people so easy. Am I making sense to you? So I was in the spirit, and I'm going to prophesy more tonight and moving forward. But God said, condition the house. Help them understand what the prophetic is for, what it's coming for. God's not interested in your embarrassment and your shame. And then when I say your embarrassment and your shame, I mean, why does God have to bring you in the church in front of everybody and tell everybody, not just you, what you're struggling with? That's what some people call God's work. I don't see it as God's work at all. By the time you come in here, your sin between you and God doesn't have to be announced on this rooftop. That ain't what God's talking about. He deals with you personally and privately, so I'm setting some parameters for even those who join me, and they come from other places with the prophetic. We do not use the prophetic to abuse and to hurt people. If God has so showed you something so bad that you must say it, you bring it to the elders and you let us handle it. Pastor, elders, the Lord has shown me X, Y, and Z. I don't know what to do with it. I'm overwhelmed with it. You discharge that to us and you let us handle it in wisdom. But I want to set some parameters. Nobody, God has gifted you and showed you anybody's sin. What you supposed to do with it? What you supposed to do with it? Just make it make sense. Why God showing you folks sin? Don't you got your own? The people talking about God showed them other folks sin. God hadn't even showed them their own yet. I doubt highly God took the time to talk about my sin and skipped over yours. Starting with your self-righteousness to think you ain't got none. So don't let anybody bully you with that stuff. God ain't showed them nobody's sins. If he did, to whatever degree you've seen it, your job is to edify, exhort, and if I can't do those 3 things, I'm going to leave it alone. Don't the same Holy Ghost that speak to me and rest in me, ain't he the same one in this sister right here? Is he the same Holy Ghost in this sister? Is he the same Jesus? Did he convict you, save you? Did he save her? Look behind you. What about that lady? You think she got it too? Look at your neighbor on the other side of you and just notice they got Jesus too. See, that's the problem with some of the arrogant people that want to expose it. They act like folks don't have the same Holy Ghost. So by the time God send me to you full of the Holy Ghost, he don't need me to expose you. You probably need love and encouragement. And sis, I see you and you're going to pull through. Over the next several weeks, we're going to amp up and allow the prophetic to be demonstrated more. As a matter of fact, I'm going to spend some time today, if the Lord say the same, and we will share to encourage a few people. And then tonight, that's what this whole service will be about. Tonight, we're going to just let the prophetic utterance of God come forth. Me and a couple of other prophetic people will be here to minister. And the Lord has used this type of ministry to solidify for me his plans and his intentions. Most of my ministry life has been navigated by the prophetic word of God. Things that would just flow up at divine times and seasons and confirm what God is doing. My businesses, my marriages, things that God needed to speak personally in my life about how to maneuver, how to move. It came through a prophetic word that brought clarity and confirmation to me to let me know I was on the right track. As a matter of fact, my birth came by way of prophecy. So I think I was shaped in this thing for real. My mother wasn't even supposed to be able to be pregnant, and the prophet told her, but you are. And this is what he's going to be. And so the prophetic just has such deep meaning in my life, and I've seen it benefit so many other people. How many of you benefited from the prophetic since you've been a part of prophetic ministries? Yes, yes, glory to God. I love that. And so if you are coming tonight with, in particular, a desire or inquisition before the Lord, it is appropriate to write that or to make that known, and the Lord will meet you where you are. But for now, can I get you to just give God praise for this service?